Well, welcome to the Business Spotlight series. My name is Tanner O'Brien. I'm a senior partner here at Action Coach in Central Texas. And today I'm sitting down with Ryan Hay, who is the owner of Oakman Building Company. Excited to be jumping in, talking all things entrepreneurship and business and all sorts of things within your industry, that sort of thing. So, Ryan, thank you so much for taking the time to be here, to sit down, to have this bit of a chat. Why don't we just start with a little bit of background? Tell the audience, tell the listeners here, 10,000 foot. Who is Ryan Hay, and tell us about the business, Oakman Building Company.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. I'm excited to jump in here a little bit. So, my name's Ryan Hay. I'm the owner of Oakman Building Company. We're a custom home builder and remodeler here in Austin, Texas. Started the company in 2015. We primarily focus on architecturally driven custom homes and large scale remodels in Austin. So we're working as close to downtown as possible most of the time. We like to do projects with architects. So that's our primary kind of, there's a client involved, but we are working on projects with architects and doing some really cool stuff around town. So.
Very cool. What was your background prior to 2015 and starting this company?
So I got a business degree in marketing from Texas State down in San Marcos. After that, I went to work for a production home builder in Houston, Texas, and just kind of fell into that job. A friend of my cousin's was like, "Hey, this company's hiring." And I was like, "Well, I'm not an engineer." I was like, that sounds cool, but I doubt they want like a marketing guy from Texas State, and went and applied, and they were, that was 2004. So they were humming along as the market was back then, and brought me on, and I instantly fell in love with it. So being outside, seeing tangible work, from your efforts. So I really fell in love with construction and the whole process and learning all about how to build a house. From there, I went to work for a commercial contractor. I built a 32-story high-rise in downtown Houston and did that for 3 or 4 years. And then I went to heavy civil, where we were doing roads and bridges for TxDot. We're primarily a TxDot contractor. And that brought me to Austin. And after that project, I built a toll road here in Austin, the Manor Expressway, we were on that project for about 5 years. And I got married during that project. And so my wife did not want to leave Austin when the time came for me to leave Austin, or the company wanted me to leave Austin. And so Oakman came about sitting on the couch with a buddy, watching football, drinking a beer. He was talking about his second child with his wife, and they lived on the east side and needing a larger space. And he's like, "I'm going to build a custom home." And I was like, "Oh, I used to build houses. You should let me do it." And he's like, "Okay." And so just kind of a conversation from there that grew. I found the lot that he ended up buying. We mutually, through a friend, found an architect. I started an LLC, bought insurance, figured out it was literally just Googling all this stuff. And one thing led to another. That architect was like, "Hey, I got a couple more projects that don't have builders. Are you interested in remodeling?" And I was like, "Yeah, I don't care. Sure." And ended up getting 2 more projects under contract, and off I went. So.
Yeah, that's fantastic. There's so much I want to dive into and ask some questions around. Out of curiosity, as you've kind of jumped into this, built it, all that kind of stuff, do you have business partners that you've been able to kind of bounce ideas off of? Has it just been you figuring it all out as you go? Kind of what does that look like for you?
So it's just been me. So that's I'm always looking. I have a few guys in town that I would consider mentors, or people that I can pick up the phone and talk to if I have a problem or an issue or something I'm not dealt with before. I'm always talking and befriending as many builders in other markets as possible to grow that network. I really feel like, especially in our industry, there's a lot of people in our industry definitely keep their information close to the chest, but then there's a growing sense of people that are willing to share. And I'm definitely willing to share, my knowledge of what I've learned in the 8 years that we've been in business, as well as always open to learning from the other builders that I've become friends with and dove into their business. So
I love that. I always like to ask, the generalized question of, as the owner of the business today, being in business for 8 years or so, which hats do you play or do you get to wear in the business today? Is it still a bunch of different hats like it might have been at the very beginning? Have you been able to take some of them off and give them to other people at this point? Kind of what is that? What does your day to day look like in terms of kind of the different areas of the business that you're focused on?
So, when I started, I was everything. I was the project manager on site. I was the estimator. I was the contractor, person dealing with the contracts. I was doing the invoicing and the QuickBooks and doing it all. As I've moved along, I've been trying to shed as much as possible. So, hiring a bookkeeper was a huge help, and got that off my plate. Then we hired project management. So we hired guys that are actually on the site every day, managing the materials and the subcontractors and quality control and dealing with the city inspection. And so they are there. That was, they're there every day doing that stuff. That took my ability to more focus on the business a little bit more. As we continue to grow, I'm trying to, the next thing that I need to take off my plate is probably estimating. And so pricing all the projects. That's a tough one to get off of a small builder's plate, because that's, how that job is estimated is how it's supposed to be built. And that's how, if we follow that, we should make money, and letting someone else kind of take that over is a big step. But I know that's my, next 12 to 18 months is to get estimating off my plate completely. And so, yeah, so as I've grown, definitely trying to remove those hats, so I can focus on other parts of the business, growing the business, sales. I'm still, I'm the sales guy. So when people call and they want to talk about a project, that's me. And so I'd love to focus just on that, and continue to get some of those other hats off.
So do you love sales, or is that more by necessity, or are there other areas in the business that you're like, I love this piece the most, and like in a perfect world and I can move all things off my plate, I would just focus on this one aspect?
If I could do anything, I would be a project manager, and I would be on site every day with my one house. And I love getting my boots dirty and being outside with the guys. And that's where that's where the magic happens. That's where the money's made. That's where but I know that's probably not a realistic thing, or that's probably not where my talents are best spent in the company. So I enjoy sales. I like finding opportunities and different opportunities, whether it, not necessarily just talking to architects and getting houses, but maybe there's a small commercial project. Maybe there's something else that's an opportunity. A couple of years ago, we looked at a house that had caught on fire, and bringing it back, remodeling it and stuff. And so I like the sales. I like being able to like kind of drive the business where I want it to go from that aspect of what I'm bringing into the company. So yeah, so that's where I see my next few years is probably working on growing the business and less operating the business. So
What does that sales and kind of marketing process look like for your business? Like, how did, being the individual that's kind of more focused on that,
mhm.
what has been kind of your philosophy, or how do you get out in front of the potential clients that you can do business with? Like, what does that look like for y'all?
So with us, most of our jobs are coming through architects. So we're getting recommended from an architect who is suggesting 2 or 3 builders to the client, and we're interviewing, and then we do what's called pre-construction services, where we get hired very early on. The house isn't even fully designed or developed, or they haven't made any selections. We're talking, so we like to get hired super early so that we're involved in those conversations. Pricing in this town has been all over the map the last few years. And so getting a builder involved early is super important. And we're, so that way we can be like, hey, you're getting a little over your budget, or you're getting over your skis. And so so with that, primarily catering to architects, obviously the phone calls, the emails to architects, going to as many events that have architects in them as possible. Instagram, social media, having a presence there and showing off what we're doing is super important as well. And so that's been the main focus is just getting our name in front of architects that may not know us, and then keeping the relationships that we have with the current architects, making sure we do a good job, and we're building them a good house, and the clients are happy, and that sort of thing. So
Very cool. I love that kind of understanding that, part of really the target market is architects, and knowing that that's kind of the lead in.
mhm,
I always like to ask just a few questions, a little bit deeper on marketing, because it's one of those areas that if you're newer into business and you don't have a background in marketing, like most don't, it's an
mhm.
area that can be a little bit of a challenge for business owners out there. So you mentioned a few kind of different ways that you get in front of like architects as an example, from calls and emails to networking events where you might see them, to showcasing things to them on digital marketing with social media platforms, things like that. Um, for your industry in this type of a relationship, have you found any one of those channels to be more impactful than the others in terms of kind of the time that you invest and the return that comes from that?
um I don't know. I think a lot of I think Instagram, is has been great for us over the past 8 years. I think putting stuff out there and showing. So I think, when people hear, or a potential client hears about Oakman Building Company, I think the first thing they do is probably look at our website and look at our social media to be like, can they do our project? If we were primarily a kitchen and bath remodeler and they had a 5,000 square foot custom home, and they see all we're posting about is kitchen and baths, they're probably not gonna, call us. And so being able to say, put projects out that are the type of thing that we want to go after and we want to build and be a part of, and showing client, like, that's what I tell people. I'm like, Instagram, people aren't calling us from Instagram, but people are validating our ability to build their project through Instagram. And so like,
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah, Ryan's doing this stuff. He's building, there's a brand new custom home on his page. Like, he can do this. And um, so yeah, so Instagram's been great over and how we use it, and just to be able to show people what we do and how we do it. So
I like that. I was just having another conversation with a business owner recently, and being able to leverage some of the social media types of platforms, things like that, from a credibility standpoint. That's it's
mhm,
almost like just some of the content that's posted, even if it's not directly a testimonial, as per se. There can be that level of same type of credibility building, especially if you've got a very visual type of a product. So that's really cool to kind of see that or hear about that in real time.
mhm.
Um, so I've got to ask, knowing you been in Austin, kind of started this company in 2015. Obviously, the market here in Austin has been kind of
Wonderful.
crazy over that time period. Maybe speak a little bit to what you've seen, what you've experienced from 2015 to today. The massive growth and expansion in just the metro area that is Austin, to the supply chain issues, I'm sure the last
Yeah.
year, things like that, to values super high, to things coming down a little bit. What has been kind of your perspective? How is this craziness of the last handful of years in this area impacted you and your business?
I mean, the demand and the people that have been moving here is wonderful. There's been plenty of work for all of us custom home builders for the last few years, so that's been great. It's pretty wild to think, when I built that first house, our goal was $150 a foot cost. If someone called me today and said, I want to build that house, I would say you're probably looking at $550 a foot, just a few years later. So it's definitely been wild trying to keep up with the pricing and the demand and what's going on. It's been nice to turn down projects maybe that we don't want to do, that aren't that perfect fit, where we don't have to put the square peg in the round hole or take on the project that we don't really want to do. So that's been kind of I keep telling myself, like, it's not gonna be like this forever. It's going to slow down. You have to keep those things in your head, because it's been wild. The amount of calls, the different projects, the opportunities. We've seen some pretty crazy growth, just even in our company, in going from a single owner operator. I guess 15, 16, and 17, I was just doing it by myself, and 17 hired my first project manager. And now, so 6 years later, having 6 or 7 employees here is pretty crazy. So it's been good. I'm not complaining about having a lot of work. It is slowing down a little bit right now, but I think, long term, 5-10 years, it's still this is a desirable place to live. This is a wonderful city. I just don't think it's going to stop growing. And I think we have some things to figure out with affordability and how expensive everything is getting. But I think there's a lot of opportunity in this town. So
Yeah, as someone that came from, so I moved to Austin in 2018, end of 2018, and I came from a really small town up in North Iowa, and I'm talking like 20 some thousand people, and we're the largest town in any direction for like an hour, hour and a half,
Mhm,
and over the 30 years or so that I lived there, no growth at
mhm,
all, and then
mhm,
come down here to Austin and just see so much progress and growth. It's absolutely incredible to see some of that.
mhm.
So as you look back on your journey, you look back on specifically from starting this company and becoming a business owner, not just working for somebody else. What have been kind of some of the biggest lessons or things that you've had to learn throughout this journey?
Man, there's so many. There's so many. Um, just I think, um, every I always thought, coming up through construction, I always knew that I kind of wanted to own my own company. Um, and probably the biggest lesson is it's not all it's cracked up to be, all the time. Now, there are times when, it's awesome. But there's also it's a stressful job. The amount of responsibility I have, and sometimes I'll sit back and I'll be like, think about the number of people that are relying on and me, essentially, my team. But you got my team, you've got their spouses and their children, you've got our subcontractors who are putting their faith in us to keep getting work for them, to keep them busy, their families, their kids, our material suppliers, our just this, it's thousands of people are you know working with us and relying on us. So it's pretty staggering. So that's the kind of stuff that keeps me up at night, wanting to make sure we're doing a good job. And there's a lot of risk in what we do, and so trying to mitigate that risk as well as do a good job. And um you know sometimes in home building, you even think you're doing a good job, and that pipe still busts and those leaks still happen, no matter how much you try to prevent them. So um you know it's not all it's cracked up to be all the time, owning a construction business. It's a lot of stress and a lot of hard work, but it's also extremely satisfying. So
Mm.
uh, I really enjoy what I do. I wouldn't trade it for anything. So I think the reason, and probably the reason for that, the thing I love most about home building is like I said earlier, the tangible realization of your work. So you can sit back at the end of a project, even the bad ones that, just whatever happens during them, they get off the tracks or whatever, still sitting back and knowing that we built a good house and something I can drive my son by and maybe my grandson one day and be like, I built that house and it's still standing. And having that satisfaction of, being able to walk into something you managed and you constructed and you worked on, and when it's all done, is something that's really awesome. And not a lot of industries have that kind of tangible result from your work. So
Yeah, that is really cool. So when you look at the next 3 to 5 years, what does the business look like as you continue to grow and continue to do more and everything else? What do things look like 3 to 5 years out?
I mean, I want to, keep doing what we're doing. I don't want to grow too fast. I don't want to grow too slow. I just want to keep getting really good projects, interesting projects with some of the city's best architects. Keep doing a good job for our clients, providing value for them in what we do, creating, a good experience for our clients to have. It's home building. We get a bad rap of just being, crooks and, you know, I say this a lot. It's, if you talk about airplane or airline aluminum, it's the best aluminum. Medical grade equipment is the best equipment you can buy. Builder grade is like the crummiest material you can buy. And so I want to change that. I want to, work hard to give our industry, be one of the good guys in our industry and one of the people that people refer and give work to, and there's people knocking on our door to come build their house for them. So 3 to 5 years, working on steady growth, maybe adding another project manager, getting an estimator full time, an experienced estimator to take that off my desk, and just continue to grow. Maybe looking at expansion to the hill country or to San Antonio. So just continue to just slowly build a brand and a company that my kids can be proud of. So
That is fantastic. I absolutely love that. All right, I know we've like covered a ton of ground so far, and I do want to be respectful of the time that we've allocated for our conversation here today. So I've got a couple rapid fire questions I like to kind of start to wrap up the conversation with, just kind of
sure.
get a few extra little nuggets of wisdom, that sort of thing out. So I've got four of them here for you. We'll go kind of top ahead answer, best of our ability to answer these things here. The first one is, Ryan, what is your key to success?
My key to success, I think hard work. I think that no matter what, you can dream, you can picture, you can want, until you put boots on the ground, until you just do it. It's all just a dream. So I think just hard work. There are plenty of sleepless nights and weekends and that sort of stuff. So I think just hard work. This industry is pretty cutthroat, but there's a lot of opportunity there as well. So
If you could just give only one piece of advice to another entrepreneur, another business owner out there, what piece of advice would you give them?
um man, that's a great question. I'm trying to think of what the most probably that you're going to get knocked down, you're going to get told no, you're going to get yelled at, or someone's going to get mad at you for something. Don't stop believing in yourself. If you truly believe in what you're doing and your dream, just keep going. And you have to kind of have you know a shield up to just let that stuff bounce off of you and just keep going. So just believing in your product, believing in your service, whatever it is you're doing, believing in it, and don't let a couple of people saying no, or that's not going to work, or that's dumb, stop you.
I love that. Um, what's one book that either you're currently reading or have read most recently?
I would say I'm reading Super Bosses right now. It's pretty good. A book for contractors or for anybody. So Mike Michalowicz wrote a book called Profit First, and it's about paying yourself. I have a construction business coach named Sean Van Dyke. He wrote Profit First for contractors. So I would say that's a wonderful book for a contractor out there that might be struggling with the day-to-day and the finances. So that's a good one.
I love that. Here's kind of just a fun one to wrap up our rapid fire questions. If you could choose only one area in your business that you could take, a little bit of magic dust and just sprinkle it all over, and tomorrow you'd wake up and it was, I don't know, 100 times better than it is today, where would you choose to put that magic dust?
Estimating or estimating. I am an eternal optimist. I am a people pleaser by heart. So when someone tells me they want to build their house for $1 million, I'll do everything I can to figure out how to get it for $1 million or whatever the number is, right? And sometimes get a little too tight, a little too aggressive. So having someone do a little more factual, a little less optimistic estimating would be good for Oakman for sure.
That is fantastic. So before we jump into the final question that I always like to end kind of these conversations on, for those that are watching, that are listening to this later on, that want to connect with you, that want to learn more about your journey, that want to learn more about Oakman, check out all the fantastic things and projects that you've completed. Where can we advise people to go for more information?
So Instagram, we are sharing stuff all the time. So Oakman Building Co. is on Instagram. That's a great place. You can DM me there. I answer people's DMs all the time. Ask questions. Ryan@buildoakman.com is my email address. I always like to hear, I've done a few podcast interviews over the years, and even sometimes I did one like 2 years ago, and just like a month ago, someone was like, "Hey, I heard that podcast interview you did." I was like, "Oh my gosh." I was like, I don't even know what we talked about that day, and hearing from people, and that's really cool. So always happy to connect with people out there. So
Awesome. Well, for those that are watching, make sure you go right as soon as we wrap up here, go click I'll put the link in the video description below. Make sure that you follow on Instagram, send Ryan a DM and say, "Hey, I saw you on the business spotlight. Really cool conversation." Make sure that you take the time to go do that, and make sure that you make the connection here, because that's one of these cool things about these spotlight conversations. So,
sure.
Ryan, as we wrap up, I'd like to end on a final question, which is simply this: what is most inspiring to you today?
Most inspiring is just probably just to keep building a business, and to create opportunities for my employees, for our subs, for our clients. It's a really fun journey that we're on, and get to do this. It's a privilege to get out and build stuff, and kind of be that heartbeat of the state or America or whatever, kind of stuff. But I really enjoy what we do every day. So just keep doing that, keep doing a good job, and hopefully continue this business for many years to come.
Amazing. Ryan, thank you so much for taking the time. This has been a genuine pleasure. I know we could probably sit here for another hour and just chit chat about a whole bunch of different stuff, but thank you so much for taking this time and sharing your journey with us.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.